All right, so we're going to show all of you how to set up a really awesome full funnel workflow and a Google Data Studio template that pulls in data from Leadfeeder, our partner for IP intelligence. Down there, you see Thomas from Mash Metrics. Mash Metrics is a data analytics agency down in San Diego. They're going to be here to fully support you if you need them to go ahead and set up what we're going to show you how to set up. And they can fully manage it and support it for you along the way. Carol is the head of global partnerships for Leadfeeder, and she's going to walk us through the Leadfeeder aspect of this, showing us the value of the platform. So, Carol, why don't you say hi?
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Alex, for having me. I'm super excited to show you the magic behind Leadfeeder, and also super excited to work with Thomas from Mash Metrics. It's going to be an awesome one.
And then down there, Mash Metrics, Thomas, why don't you say hi real quick?
Hello, everyone. Again, Thomas Basilovac with Mash Metrics. Super excited to have some new data to work with and to mine through. So this will be fun.
Yeah, we have another course with Thomas. If you're in the community or if you're in the school, definitely check out the other course. It's super valuable. Let's start here. So Leadfeeder, if you don't know, it's our category leader for IP intelligence. But let's start with real quickly, what is IP intelligence? And how does the infrastructure, the bones, the actual technology, what's the quickest way to explain how it all works?
Gosh, yeah, without going too much into detail, I can probably go on for hours about this. But at the end of the day, every company registers, most companies register for an IP address, right? It's the most secure thing to do. It gives them more control over the access that the user are having. And through that IP address, we're able to identify what companies are visiting. So at the end of the day, you have a lot of traffic that comes to your website. A lot of them are anonymous, actually a majority of them anonymous until they fill out a form. Through IP identification, we can now show you the company who's visiting, the location of the visitor, and the visit details, the buying intent, basically.
Yeah, that's the key word. So the intent there, and giving your agency, if you are using it for yourself, there's a ton of value with this tool, just as a sales operation is concerned. So you can use it internally at your agency. But today we're going to show you something a little more interesting, which is obviously how to build a service off of the data from Leadfeeder. So adding it to the analytics that you are going to help clients optimize campaigns. You're going to help clients optimize their site. You're going to obviously help them generate new revenue, a whole bunch of different things. And the important thing there is just giving them a link to Leadfeeder and telling them to go and sign up and run with it. Yes, you could do that. You can earn some, affiliate commissions if you choose to. But I think more interesting is providing a managed service for your clients. And as usual, we try to loop in an agency that we trust to support those managed services. So that's why we have Mash Metrics. But the next thing that we want to talk about here is, really the qualifying of the prospects from Leadfeeder data. So Carol, we have a little bit of information there. Why don't you walk us through it?
How is this?
I remember this. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So basically, if you have a Leadfeeder account, this is what you see. We show you all the companies that are visiting your site, and you can choose different time intervals and toggle between different data sets. And if you click through, you can dive into who the company is and then their visit data. You see what source they came from. Did they come directly from a Google ad, from a social campaign? Basically all the hard work and time that you're putting into the campaigns and your content strategy. Now you're able to provide more ROI, more value to your clients, because we're going to show you the warm prospects that are visiting your site based off of the behavior on your client's site. So in this case, we can see that, they came through the search query, and then you can determine if this is a good prospect or not. And then from there, we allow you to further qualify the data by creating custom feeds so that you can tell Leadfeeder what's most important to you. Do you only focus on certain markets? Or maybe you want to focus on seeing who's visiting your pricing page, and they maybe looked at least 3 pages and visited your website at least twice. Or maybe you want to track certain campaigns that you're running, right? Because at the end of the day, like I said, a majority of your the website traffic, they don't fill out a form. I think the statistic floating around is 98% of your visitors don't raise their hand, don't fill out a form. They might browse the key pages on your site. They're looking at your product pages, integration pages, pricing pages, and then they leave to go to your competitor sites, and they might not ever return. So some might say that lead feeder is top of the funnel, but depending on the behavior of your site, they could be further along the funnel, right? Just because they don't raise their hand doesn't mean they're not further along the funnel. So quickly, just to glaze over this custom feed, all you have to do is decide what makes sense for you, right? So in my example, let's look at everyone looking at our pricing page really quickly. I do pricing URL contains pricing, and then maybe my team focus on the United States and Canada. So then we can add more layers to it. United States, Canada. So as I add filters on the left-hand side, it's updating the list already. And then maybe I want to say acquisition, source and medium. Let's try for anything like CPC related. Oh, I'll do contains the word CPC. And then we can save this anything. You can name it anything you want. Now that so it's updating in real time. So now that I save the feed, I can also set up automations too, where you can push this data directly through to a CRM system. You can create opportunity deals, tasks automatically, assign it to specific people in your team, maybe push it over to a Slack channel. Someone can get notified by email. Whatever your workflow is, Leadfeeder can fall into it perfectly. And so now that I've updated this list, so if I click on this prospect, I can look at the pages they viewed. They looked at, like I said, they looked at our pricing page. They're comparing us to other competitors. And in this case, they would be a good prospect. And so we would connect this into Pipedrive. And that's, in a nutshell, what Leadfeeder looks like. It's super simple to use, but I think the more exciting part is building out a Google Data Studio dashboard, which Thomas will be able to dive into.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, I mean, I've used Leadfeeder on multiple sites in the past, and it's something that we definitely find incredibly valuable, especially on top of other data sources. So you can imagine you've got your event analytics from Heap, and you've got your Google Analytics and your pricing analytics and all the stuff going on in your CRM. All of the IP intelligence from just random visitors to your site, piping those in, that can create a whole nother layer to your data that you may not have right now. And the bigger question is, how does that all roll up into a service that you can sell to clients? Leadfeeder is robust enough, especially when you get into the premium accounts, that just setting up of Leadfeeder can be a service in itself. But we're going to show you one other aspect of that, which is tying it into GDS, Google Data Studio. So if you do not know about Google Data Studio, or you do not currently have any experience in it, get with Thomas at Mashmetrics, and they will get you up to speed and get your Google Data Studio templates set up and supported for clients. Well, let's talk about this. Thomas, what's going on here?
Yeah, so obviously, Leadfeeder has done a really good job with their own interface, so you can incorporate that in with your own business process through Pipedrive or HubSpot or Salesforce, etc. But sometimes we want to see this data along with our website data or our Facebook data, etc. So Leadfeeder has provided a native, really Google Data Studio connector right into this. So if you go into your settings, and we don't want to turn this too much into a Google Data Studio demo, but as you can see here, this is just a native connection right up to Data Studio. From there, you have your campaign, your keyword, your source medium information, what you would expect from Google Analytics. So how am I getting this information, or where are they coming from, rather? And then, of course, you have all of the information about the lead, the company, their URL, where they actually came from, so the landing page, and then also other different pages that they might have went to as well. So as you can see here, you've got all of this kind of rich data here. Now let's go ahead and start combining that with our website traffic, or maybe even as an agency, more importantly, your Google AdWords or Facebook ads campaign information. As Carol said, and as we definitely know, 98% of those visitors are not filling out that form. That obviously would be a bottom funnel converted great lead source, but you have all of those other, we'll just call them MQLs that are still coming into your website. If they're looking at 2, 3, 4 different pages, well, then we definitely want to get a hold of that company to see what kind of opportunities they're looking for, how we can help them. But what does that cost us? From an agency perspective, we have to go back to our client and say, okay, on top of Lead Feeder, we'll also have our marketing costs on here. How are each of those campaigns doing? And as you can see here, since Lead Feeder provides your campaign, your medium, your source information in that native data connector, we can actually just use data blending in order to now put that in with your Google AdWords. So here we can see from an ads perspective, we spent almost $500,000. That got us 3.2 million impressions, 108,000 clicks, 10,000 leads. And then we've even kind of ported this a bit into Pipedrive to get our overall opportunities. And we'll dig into that a little bit more. But from an agency standpoint, this is what you need to deliver to your client. A $37 average cost per lead or 3.7 cost per click. This you knew about, but this was probably 4, 5, 10 times higher if you're going off of those lead forms, right? We're not going to say that all of these leads are going to close, but a much more, you have a much bigger opportunity. And we can see that now we're matching about 10% of the traffic from that paid campaign. So we can get all of your normal agency metrics from here. What are my leads to my cost? We have a bubble chart here that's just kind of showing, the progression of each of the campaign, how it's performing, what's the overall cost per lead. And then, we have our tables. Just like, standard Google Data Studio reports, I can then start to slice and dice what keywords are bringing in different leads, etc. Let me go ahead and actually dig into that a little bit more. So we took this a bit further. So now we've got this blended in with our normal website data. Now I might want to do a little bit of customer profiling. Now I might want to actually look at this and say, okay, now let me start to adapt my ad campaigns, my ad creatives, maybe even the verticals that I need to be looking at. So in much that same way, I've already drilled into those to those leads. Here's just the paid advertising ones, the keywords that they're coming into. And like Carol mentioned earlier, we also have what pages that these leads might have went to. So this is looking at it overall, but I might want to go ahead and just click on Orchard Hills. They visited the website 5 times. Each of those, it went to 95 pages. So there's obviously a fair bit of engagement here within their department. Here I can see what are those pages, where they came from, etc. Now, because Lead Feeder also gives us kind of a URL right into, or gives us the lead ID, I can just go ahead and click on that and go right to the lead information within Lead Feeder. Kind of the next step, if I have the website of that company, I can even just click on that, and then boom, there's their website. So as a salesperson, as I'm sitting there, now I have all of that information that I need to really start to qualify that lead. Well, what is a qualified lead? Well, do you want to add on to anything before we kind of move on to the enterprise scale and where this can really start to?
No, I would just say this. I think it's important for the agencies to understand what goes into the layering aspect, so the blending of the data. You don't have to go into detail, but can you just maybe re-articulate what you meant when you mentioned the blending of the GA and Lead Feeder data?
Good point. So here what I've done is I've set up in Google Data Studio, you can blend various data sources. Certainly not an ETL tool, but in a basic sense, I've taken my Lead Feeder connection here to the left, and I've joined it by the campaign and then the date to my Google Analytics data. So then that gives me all of my rich cost, impression, click, and I can put in goal information or whatever I'm collecting in GA, along with the data coming in from Lead Feeder. Now note, this isn't a one-to-one. That would be way against GDPR regulations and everything else. But we're starting to match this up of my campaigns are coming in on these particular days. Here's where we're filling that out.
One more thing, not based on that blending, but just talk us through the hours that this would take to set up. So just to get to about here, what would you estimate the total hours for someone that knows this Google Data Studio, knows Leadfeeder? Where do you think we're at to get to here?
Sure. And there's always, there's certain levels to that, obviously. Leadfeeder's done a great job so that, just kind of your regular newbie can install Leadfeeder, implement it within Google Analytics with its own kind of JavaScript, very, very similar process there. And immediately you're going to start generating the data. From a Google Data Studio perspective, you can, then log right into Data Studio and connect up to Leadfeeder. In order to start joining this together, then it might take a little bit of work, a few hours to maybe kind of make sure that all the joins are there. I'm more than happy to kind of share this template, but as you look at your own data, there might be some differences. But that part's pretty cut and dry. Leadfeeder's done a great job of creating those easy to use services. When you start to actually kind of create the dashboard around the true provisioning, so now let's connect this with our Salesforce data or our Pipedrive data. Well, that one-to-one connection is pretty easy within Leadfeeder, and you're kind of jumping within the systems. When we start consolidating that data, that's really, we kind of need to talk to each individual organization themselves to see what their setup is. And that can range anything from a 20-hour engagement to, several hundred hours, depending upon the scope of, is it a patient management system? Is it a true CRM? Or what is that in source there? Great question, though.
Yeah. Just to add, I mean, out of the box, if you were just going to pull Leadfeeder's data into Google Data Studios, you could probably be done within 15, 20 minutes. I mean, we offer a lot of templates just to pull Leadfeeder's data, but when we're talking about blending all these outside sources, Thomas said it could range from hours to 20 hours, depending how complex and robust you want it to be.
Yeah, and we are going to give them this setup. So if they did want their setup to look like this, we're going to give you this template. You can copy it into your account and run with it from there. But obviously, Thomas and Mashmetrics, they are there to support you in the blending of the data, in the deeper setups. Obviously, if you want to add additional data sources, Domo, like we're mentioned right here, we're going to go into that real quick. So just know that we're not showing you something that we expect you all to do on your own. There are setup costs and setup hours intrinsic in this just to get it to the Data Studio setup, just to get Leadfeeder plus Data Studio. Then if you wanted to supply your clients with a managed service, here's Thomas and Mashmetrics version of that. And let's go ahead and jump back in.
Yeah, this is definitely taking it up to, I'd say, the mid-enterprise or enterprise level, where we're truly matching that up actually from Google, from the source from Facebook. We're actually putting in different client IDs within Google Analytics to feed into Leadfeeder that it also feeds into, in this case, Salesforce data. So there's certainly different moving pieces together. But from that point, then I have this nice clean dashboard that I can share with my management. Hey, how many MQLs did we get? 1,000. How many SQLs? 842, or depending upon your terminology that you use. And of course, the next question is, how are those advertising and paid search and organic search campaigns doing for you? Now you can start to answer these questions with a snap of a finger. I can even drill down into my particular vendor. Is that a Facebook ad or a Google ad? Well, where it really kind of starts to hit the road, that's your great marketing reports. But now I can also slice and dice to say, okay, out of that same cohort or those same audiences, let's look at the provisioning data. And this is going to be different, obviously, for everybody or any client, customer that's on the call. But in this case, we had some bad information, or we have an algorithm running where it automatically detects whether it's a deduplicate or things like that for our prediction levels. So we can see that at a high level. And then we can even drill into kind of our stage of where they're at. This is just one example. Every organization has their own kind of pipeline stages. We have no lead, active lead, correct lead type, and then incorrect lead type. So we could just drill into these, click, and then everything starts to filter appropriately. Kind of taking that customer data profiling tool that's dealing with Leadfeeder, but now into your own CRM or patient management or whatever system that you might have. It's kind of what we put together from a demo on our side, just to show how you can push this data a little bit further from a lead to an opportunity to dollar sign.
I love it. It's easy. Now go everyone and analyze data. This is cool. This is really cool. I'm geeking out over this. I mean, I'm thinking about my own data setup, and
I should stop sharing my screen or I'm going to continue to play around with it myself.
Yeah. So cool. This is so cool though. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I'm just thinking about it. I mean, if for most of the agencies out there, I can probably estimate that most of the people that are providing services around lead gen, around PPC, maybe even some SEOs out there, aren't going that extra mile and helping their clients with the full analytics dashboard setup. So just think about how much more value you can provide your clients by setting this sort of a dashboard up where you can have that source of truth where you and your clients and their marketing teams and their sales teams are all looking at this data through the same lens, and you are the agency that provided them that. Adds an additional layer of value to your contracts with those clients, as well as the stickiness and retention factor. And as usual, it's fully supported if you need it from the team over there at Mashmetrics. Carol, anything else that we should leave them with about the lead feeder setup and anything they should know or anything that we want to provide them to help them kind of get off and get running with lead feeder?
Yeah, I mean, out of the box, we usually give a 14-day trial to everyone, but to members of partner programs, anyone watching this, feel free. You can get a 30-day trial. Just enter in partner programs in the sign-up code. When you're signing up, we'll give you 30 days. Otherwise, all we require you to do is install a little script onto your site, which should take 2 minutes to do. And then that's it. You'll see the magic happen. Basically, the data would populate into your lead feeder dashboard, and you can have it as many users as you want. You can manage all of your client accounts under one dashboard, one login. And my team is always happy to hop on a screen share call too. Yeah.
And actually, that's one thing that I wanted to add on that I didn't demonstrate is Lead Feeder does have a wonderful account dropdown and whatnot. So when you have multiple clients, you can easily filter through those and also do the same thing with Data Studio as well. So you can kind of see that global perspective of your clients.
So I guess it's worth mentioning now. So let's say I do have multiple clients, Carol, and I'm providing lead feeder services, whether it's all being piped into a Google Data Studio and all I have is the Google Data Studio, or maybe I do have access to the client's actual lead feeder account. How does that setup work from an agency standpoint? What are the options there for managing the lead feeder account?
Yeah, multiple options. So one, you could have one agency account login, and then as Thomas mentioned, you would just add a new account per client, and there'll be like a drop-down box you can toggle between each one. Or you could just have one dashboard and add as many websites as you want. And then you could create different feeds, as we call it, the custom feeds that I showed you earlier in the call, by domain or by page URL, right? And then when you're feeding this data into Google Data Studio, it's actually based off of custom feeds. So you could have a dashboard for client A and then another dashboard for client B based on the custom feeds you create.
Okay, and then Thomas, obviously, you have your own set of value add. Do you want to mention anything about Mashmetrics and how you're willing to support people interested in getting this set up and how deep it can go?
Yeah, sure. In short, we provide the team and the technology and then years of experience to kind of get this thing done for either as a white labeled augmentation of your own agency team, or of course we can work directly with your clients in that aspect. And, we do that to marketing teams as well. Would love to hear about your own challenges. So just go to mashmetrics.com/bookus, BOOKUS. And we'll you can set up a meeting time there and we'll chat about your challenges and figure out if we can help you out.
Yeah, and we're going to link to all of this. So Carol and her partner program and lead feeder and everything that they're doing is amazing. That's why we represent them. And then Mashmetrics, you guys have been huge. on all levels and a few different data courses that we produce. So definitely check out the other classes and book some time with both Carol and Thomas to learn more about their services. All right. Well, thank you all. And thank you for watching. We'll
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, we'll see you guys in your courses. See you guys online.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.